Hey, this is Lucas Tudor with LT Bass Fishing, and I just wanted to talk about punching. Right now, in the middle of summer, the vegetation has grown up, and one of the best ways to get to the fish is to punch. I'm going to go ahead and start off with the rod and reel just real quick. You want basically just as heavy of a rod as you can get, but you want a fairly light action, which means you want your rod tip to bend only in the tip and not down in the middle of the rod, because when you hook a fish underneath a mat and you're throwing it right in the mat and it's going down underneath the mat, you don't want them to get pinned against the mat. You want them to be able to kind of swim around. So let me tie a punching rig real quick just to show you. Now you're going to want a good bobber stopper. Slide that on the line. I've already put one on this line. So, but they come with a little, they're attached to a wire, and you just hold the tab and pull them off on the line. Make sure you have your bobber stopper on. Next, you put your weight on. I prefer a 1 ounce. Lead or tungsten, it doesn't matter. Slide your weight on. Then you want an extra heavy wire flipping hook with a good bait keeper on it, and you want it to be a straight shank, and you want anywhere from 4/0 to 6/0 should work, but you want it to be big enough to handle those giant fish, because believe me, I've had giant hooks that I've come up to people and just asked them, just because I was curious, taking a survey, do you think this hook would break off? And or not break off, but bend out, and they said no, and I pretty much straightened it fishing in mats. So what I'm tying now is called a snell knot. Look it up. It's the easiest way. It's actually an easy knot to tie, but it's hard to explain. You just got to see a picture. Basically, instead of tying the knot to where you're tying it on the back of the hook, you're tying it on the hook shank, and it's going through the eyelet, and it comes right out through the center of that eyelet. So here's why you do that. So you have a good lead weight or tungsten with a flat edge, because you can buy weights that have a little bit. Sorry, it's the dog days of summer, and we're all sweating right now, especially here in Oklahoma. But some bullet weights have a little cup on the inside to where there's the lip, and then it kind of dips in till you get to the rest of it. This one is perfectly flat, so when it goes down to the hook, when you set the hook, because a big fish a lot of times will come up and grab everything and pop on that and grab the lead or the weight included, and it'll pop the hook out like that. I've done some research, and what I found is it'll increase your hookups about 20%, and that's worth it, especially when you're fishing a tournament. Because what we do, my usual strategy in the summer for tournaments is I usually crank or finesse fish quickly, try to get 4 or 5 fish quickly in the boat as quick as I can, even if they're small, just barely keepers, just get fish on the board. Then I'll move on to bigger baits like jigs, fish head spin, spinnerbait, whatever the conditions are needing. But that can be varied, based on whether it's cloudy or sunny or hot or anything, or even kind of a chilly summer day, which is not common. But I'm pointing to that chatterbait right there. Usually what I do when I'm looking for a big fish, after I've cranked, usually cranking will get you little fish, but it'll get fish quicker than quick, very fast, just instantly. Usually first 2 or 3 casts you can catch at least 1 or 2. I'll switch to punching, swim jigs, because I'm pointing to my rods right there. Swim jig, right there with the rage crawl, Strike King, Hack Attack, Heavy Cover Swim Jig, always, mainly, yeah, always, unless it's really, really deep water, but with a Rage Crawl, gotta be a Rage Crawl, or a Chatterbait with a Little Dipper trailer on it, swim bait. But mainly though, punching tends to get your biggest fish for, in our lakes in the summer. Here in Oklahoma, some lakes are very clean and clear, like Grand Lake, where the Bassmaster Classic will be held in 2016, and then other lakes can have a little vegetation. It's just whatever your lake is. And in the lake I fish predominantly, we have vegetation, so punching is great. So here's some lures that I prefer, or plastics. If you've kind of established with your other techniques like crankbaits, jigs, swim jigs, if you kind of figure out the fish are finicky and not really aggressive, go with a plain crawl. Maybe a bigger size like this Yum crawl, not necessarily a Paca or something with a smaller profile. Go with the bigger crawl. You want to thread it on the hook like you would a Texas rig. Slide it up right on the bait keeper, maybe slightly upwards, and then just poke it inside. And the thing is though, a lot of times when you fish a Texas rig, you'll hear guys say to Tex-pose it and put the hook right on top. And that's okay, but not for punching. When you're punching, you don't, because when you're punching, if it's right laying on top, the tiniest little bit of grass that touches it will catch. And then it'll pop the whole hook through, and it'll mess everything up. And you'll probably end up breaking it off because that hook will get lodged in something. Whenever you do this and only put the hook halfway in the body or less than that, just skin hook it barely, it's perfectly weedless. But if you have a big fish, which the big fish tend to be in the mats or out in the very deep water, so if you get a big fish to bite it, he'll have no problem whatsoever just smashing that right down and getting that hook out like nothing. So that's a good one for certain situations. For normal days, when they're pretty active, a Pit Boss is great. And then for excellent days, to those kind of average days where the fish are pretty aggressive in the summertime, they're biting well, just a Beaver. Doesn't matter what brand, tons of brands have these. Red and black for the sunny days, and black and blue for cloudy days. And sometimes you want to add a bead. I don't know why I didn't say this earlier when I was talking about it, but for those weights that have a little cavity in the bottom, add a bead, a glass bead or plastic, whatever your preference is, and it'll make up for that extra space. And the cavitation action will still happen, just not quite as flat out to the side as this one is. Thank you for watching LT Bass Fishing. I'll have more videos coming out soon, and please subscribe.